The Rwandan Genocide, a harrowing humanitarian tragedy. The Rwandan Genocide, which unfolded between April and July of 1994, stands as one of the most harrowing humanitarian tragedies of the 20th century. In just 100 days, an estimated 800,000 people, predominantly from the Tutsi minority, were brutally murdered by extremist factions within the Hutu majority. This catastrophic event was not an isolated incident, but rather the culmination of deep-seated ethnic tensions exacerbated by historical grievances, colonial legacies, and political manipulation. The roots of the conflict can be traced back to the colonial period when Belgian authorities favored the Tutsi minority over the Hutu majority, creating a social hierarchy that sowed discord between the two groups. This preferential treatment fostered resentment among Hutus, leading to a cycle of violence and retribution that would persist long after Rwanda gained independence in 1962. The tensions reached a boiling point in the years leading up to the genocide, particularly following a series of violent incidents and political upheavals. The immediate catalyst for the genocide was the assassination of Rwandan President Juvenal Habyarimana when his plane was shot down on April 6, 1994. This event ignited a premeditated campaign of extermination against Tutsis and moderate Hutus who opposed the extremist regime. In the chaos that ensued, radical Hutu militias known as Interahamwe were mobilized to carry out systematic killings across the country. Armed with machetes and small arms, these militias engaged in mass slaughters, targeting not only Tutsis, but also anyone perceived as sympathetic to them. During this horrific period, entire families were annihilated in their homes, and neighbors turned against neighbors in a frenzy of violence fueled by propaganda that dehumanized Tutsis. Radio stations played a crucial role in inciting hatred and coordinating attacks, with broadcasts urging listeners to eliminate the cockroaches, a derogatory term used for Tutsis. The brutality of these acts was compounded by widespread sexual violence. Estimates suggest that between 250,000 and 500,000 women were raped during the genocide, with many subjected to horrific abuses. The international community's response to the genocide has been widely criticized for its inadequacy. Despite having peacekeeping forces in Rwanda at the time, the United Nations failed to intervene effectively or prevent the escalating violence. The lack of decisive action from world powers allowed the genocide to unfold largely unchecked. As the genocide progressed, many Rwandans sought refuge in neighboring countries or fled to makeshift camps where conditions rapidly deteriorated. The aftermath left deep scars on Rwandan society and resulted in significant demographic shifts as survivors grappled with trauma and loss. Following the end of the genocide in July 1994, when the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, composed mainly of Tutsi exiles, seized control, efforts began to rebuild a nation shattered by violence. In response to this tragedy, international bodies established mechanisms for accountability. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, was created to prosecute those responsible for genocide and other serious violations of international law. Over time, this tribunal has led to significant legal precedents regarding crimes against humanity and genocide. Today, Rwanda is often cited as an example of post-conflict recovery and reconciliation efforts. The government has implemented policies aimed at fostering unity among its citizens while addressing issues related to justice and accountability for past atrocities. However, discussions about memory and justice remain complex as survivors continue to navigate their painful histories. In conclusion, the Rwandan genocide represents one of humanity's darkest chapters, a stark reminder of how ethnic tensions can escalate into unimaginable violence when left unchecked. As we reflect on this tragedy and its implications for global human rights advocacy, it prompts us to consider how we can learn from history to prevent such atrocities in the future. What lessons can be drawn from Rwanda's experience that might inform our responses to current conflicts around the world? The exploration continues into how societies heal from deep wounds while striving for justice and reconciliation.